Evening, cunt.
Now that I've got your attention, hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Jason, and today we are going to be talking about and reviewing Alien Romulus. Now, I know not everyone has seen the movie yet, so for the most part this video will be spoiler free, but I will leave a timestamp for when the spoilers begin so that those who haven't seen the movie yet can back out of the video, and then feel free to come back once you have watched the movie. So, if we jump right in there straight forward, I do like the movie a lot. I think it was very good for the most part. The opening scene was very good. It definitely hooked me in straight away and gave me a lot of intrigue going straight into the movie. They definitely nailed the set pieces. And it definitely felt quite similar to the first two movies, particularly the first one. Yeah, it's definitely very similar to the opening of the original Alien, which I think was very good. Probably one of the better openings in the franchise to build a bit of intrigue with what was going on. I won't exactly spoil the particularly hooking part yet, but yeah, the cinematography was also very good in the movie and very visually, aesthetically pleasing. I will say that much. Yeah, I will say this in a more simplified manner. In short, this movie is absolutely fucking beautiful. The cinematography of this movie is just absolutely fucking great. Looking at space, it's a very beautiful sight in one way, and it's also a very terrifying sight in another. And they definitely nailed it very well in this movie. And the planet and spaceships, they looked absolutely phenomenal. The movie was shot very well, and there's a lot of very great, well lit and well shot scenes. The spaceships look very great. The little belt that's around the planet that they're on looked very interesting. I'll say that too. Yeah, overall this movie just looks really, really damn good. And the shots that are in space are some of the best looking scenes I've ever seen in a movie. Particularly when the main group of characters are flying their ship above the planet that their mining colony is situated on, of course. But overall, the movie does look very good visually. Whether you're on the space stations or the mining colony or wherever, the movie does look very good. One particular thing that I want to touch on here is that the facehuggers play a large role in this movie, and are arguably bigger antagonists than the actual full-grown xenomorphs, to be honest. At least they felt like that. Certainly felt like that for me. It definitely seemed like they got more screen time than the actual xenomorph drones, to be honest, upon my first watch of the movie. Which can neither be viewed as a good or a bad thing. Personally, I mean, I did think that it worked out very well utilising the facehuggers more than ever before, and led to a lot of tense and uncomfortable moments for a lot of people. And to a lot of people, the facehuggers are the scariest part of the alien life cycle, and the fact that they played off this a lot in this movie worked very well. The practical effects used for the facehuggers also worked incredibly well and felt very real. The same can be said for the chestburster too, actually, along with the fully grown xenomorphs, which definitely have one of the best designs of the xenomorphs in the franchise so far, for me at least. It's quite similar to the first Alien. It also feels like a bit of a cross between the protomorphs from Alien Covenant and the original Alien, along with a similar mouth to the aliens in AVP Requiem. But yeah, they do have a very nice design, I would say. Yeah, the practical effects and suits used for the xenomorphs in the movie were very nice. Felt a lot more real than the likes of, well, xenomorphs that are CGI, really, particularly like as was used in the likes of the first Alien vs Predator and Alien Resurrection. But yeah, the xenomorphs in this movie definitely have very nice designs, which are closest to the design of the alien in the original movie, which is obviously the design that they were most prominently based off for this movie. They also have a few scenes in the movie showing the xenomorph hive resin, and it was a slightly more unique look than we are accustomed to from the likes of aliens in that movie. Still very familiar, obviously, but there are a couple scenes that made it look a bit more unique than usual. But yeah, the settings are very nice, and they are very familiar when thinking of the first two movies. They also have a solid degree of uniqueness to them as well, so it doesn't feel just like a carbon copy of the first two movies. Although, for the most part, particularly the first half of the movie, it is definitely most stylistically like the original Alien movie. They begin to ramp up the action after the first half, and thus become slightly more like Aliens for a portion of time, but not in the usual way that you might expect. It's not just a shooting up of xenomorphs, as you might expect. And they definitely had a bit of more interesting and smart way to portray like a good action scene that we'd never really seen or thought about in the movies before, which I won't spoil for those that haven't seen it yet. But yeah, it is probably one of the most inventive action sequences in all of the movies, I think, I would say. And there are a few similarities shared thematically and conceptually with Prometheus and Alien Covenant throughout as well, I would say, which I won't delve into too deeply here, but I didn't have any massive problems with them. But towards the end of the movie, however, it takes a very divisive turn, you may say, as a lot of people, including myself, have had some mixed thoughts about this part of the movie, which I can only really describe as taking some elements from Alien Resurrection. And that's all I'm going to say on that topic for now, until later on in the video, where we delve a bit deeper into spoilers and stuff. Moving on to the main characters of the movie, one of my main worries going into the movie was the apparent youth of the cast, and it made me think, oh god, I really hope this isn't just a bunch of teenagers in space trying to survive xenomorphs. But thankfully, it wasn't, and the characters not only weren't like a bunch of Friday the 13th movie extras, they were actually pretty decent for the most part. The majority of them weren't all that memorable, though, to be honest. But the two main characters, Rain Carradine, who was played very well by Kaylee Spaney, and Andy, the synthetic or artificial person, as he would rather be referred to, he was played by David Johnson. These two definitely have some decent depth and emotions as characters, which is kind of ironic considering that the best character in the movie, in my opinion at least, was an android. Andy is definitely, for sure, my favourite character in this movie. David Johnson played him very well, and he is a unique take on an android character in this franchise, to be honest. He's not just a carbon copy of the likes of Ash or Bishop or David or anyone like that. But yeah, him and Rain have a good connection, and without delving into too much detail, Rain's father essentially found Andy and reprogrammed him with directives to look after Rain, and so they essentially formed a sibling-like bond, really. And yeah, I like these two characters. They're much more memorable than the others, of which weren't bad by any means, I wouldn't say, but I just didn't really care about them too much. I mean, Archie Renault's character, Tyler, wasn't too bad either. I didn't mind his character because his character wasn't an asshole, unlike his cousin. And his acting was very, very good, particularly in one certain tense scene, which involved quite a tough decision by Andy, I should say. However, I didn't particularly care too much about him and, yeah, the other characters, but I can't really say anything more on why without spoiling the movie, so I'll stop there. But overall, the characters weren't bad by any means. I just didn't feel as particularly emotionally invested in these characters, particularly, you know, not compared to Andy, who I felt bad for in the beginning of the movie for, well, you know, reasons that people who have seen the movie will immediately be able to recognize. But yes, overall, my thoughts on Alien Romulus, that's spoiler-free anyway, is that, yeah, it is a very good movie. It was a very good watch. I enjoyed watching it. But it is still not as good as Alien or Aliens. I really do not understand a lot of these people in various other reviews, tier lists and rankings that somehow place this movie above them. I'm sorry, it's just not even in the same league as them. It is a good movie, don't get me wrong, but it's simply not as good as those. So yeah, most of its fan service factors are literally paying homage to those previous movies. So yeah, besides obviously the factor that the characters aren't as good as in the first two movies, and you don't have as much of a investment in them as the ones in the previous, well, in the other two movies, Alien and Aliens, yeah, I just don't see how people can really rank this as better than those two. Anybody who has this movie above either of the first two movies, I just don't know. I just don't get you, I'm sorry. But yeah, I will probably make either an Alien movies tier list or ranking video at some point in the near future talking about it more. But for now, yeah, those are my general thoughts on the movie so far. After my first watch, I do really like the movie. It's overall very good, I would say. There's just, of course, a few little nitpicks that I have with it that I'll get into more closely in the spoiler section of the video, but yeah, I would definitely recommend that you go watch it. I certainly think that it's one of the better movies in the franchise, and I will probably rewatch a lot of the other Alien movies, and I'll definitely rewatch Romulus again in the cinema to fully decide my actual ranking of all the Alien movies. But yeah, I would definitely recommend that you all go watch it. It is for sure one of the better movies in the Alien franchise, and I hope that you all go and enjoy it, and that it does some good stuff for you. I mean, it certainly puts the the horror and the tension back into an Alien movie. It actually does make the Xenomorphs scary again, and particularly with the facehuggers. I mean, yeah, sure, we've had some very tense scenes with facehuggers in movies before, like in the original, where there's that whole mystery of, you know, what the hell is this thing that's just attached itself to Kane and all that, and well, the scene in Aliens where Ripley and Newt are stuck in that room and they can't get out with the two facehuggers. My god, that is one of the most tense movie scenes ever, probably, and for sure in the Alien franchise. But yeah, there's certainly some very tense scenes with the facehuggers in this movie, and it isn't just a bland case of, oh yeah, they're creepy, scuttly, all this, and then they just instantly facehug someone either. Like, there's actually some tension to it, and there's some stakes. It keeps you guessing as to who exactly is going to be the host, is going to, unfortunately, be the host for one of the Xenomorphs in the movie. The facehuggers were definitely most prominent in this movie, and they were portrayed very well, honestly. Like I said, the practical effects were very good for them, and yeah, I would honestly say that they were a bigger antagonist and a bigger source of tension for most people, more so than the Xenomorph drones, which personally I felt was slightly underused in the movie, particularly when they had such a nice, good design. And yeah, I just wish we got to see a bit more of them, really. But hey, I guess not every movie can be like Aliens, and you know, that's fine. But yeah, this movie definitely brought the horror back to the Alien franchise. I would say that Fede Alvarez did a very good job. But one thing I will say about this movie, though, is that it has quite a lot of references and callbacks to the previous movies in the franchise, particularly Alien and Aliens, with a certain one-liner that didn't exactly work too well, I don't think. And yeah, it just kind of relies on them a bit for fan service and nostalgia, which, you know, it can be fine if done right in a movie, but, you know, sometimes when it's a bit excessive, it doesn't exactly bode too well. But, you know, it was still a good movie. I still definitely recommend going to watch it. I'll see how I feel about it again on my second watch of the movie, and after I rewatch the other Alien movies for when I make a ranking of it. I do really enjoy Alien Romulus. I won't give my rating out of 10 for it yet, but yeah, I definitely recommend to go watch it if you haven't already. Okay, so now, people, if you haven't seen the movie yet, if you have not seen Alien Romulus yet, I strongly suggest you click out of the video right now to avoid any spoilers. But for those who have seen the movie, feel free to stay and watch to the end. I'll just give the people who haven't seen the video yet a chance to leave. And I will also say thank you for watching the video up until this point, and I hope you enjoyed seeing Alien Romulus when you finally get to see it, guys. Okay, so now we're giving people the chance to leave the video, I'm just going to briefly touch on a few spoilers about the movie here and my thoughts on them. So, earlier on I said about the facehuggers being more prominent antagonists than the fully grown adult xenomorph drones. And the reason I said this is not just because the facehuggers play a much more important role in the movie. As I said, I think that is a positive thing. Definitely worked very well. But I also said this because it seemed upon my first watch at least that the xenomorph drones legitimately feel like they have less screen time than the facehuggers in the movie, and thus take a bit of a back seat, if you will, in this movie. Now, personally, I find this to be slightly negative because the xenomorphs have such a great design in this movie, and I felt like we barely got a chance to admire it. They honestly seemed pretty underused, and yeah, their presence on screen was kind of underwhelming in my opinion, compared to what I was expecting. They didn't seem like a particularly dangerous threat either, to be honest. Like, they all died pretty easily, which is, you know, it was kind of underwhelming for me to see. Specifically the Scorched xenomorph, as it's being called by fans and things. I was expecting him to be a very badass killing machine, something like Specimen 6 from AVP 2010 perhaps, but particularly with such a badass nickname. But besides the fact that he got jabbed in the face with some kind of electrical weapon when he was cocooning, which is what actually gave him a scar, not some kind of fire or anything, there really isn't anything to differentiate him from the other xenomorphs in the movie. The Scorched xenomorph didn't seem any smarter or stronger than the other xenomorphs or anything like that, and there was also a very confusing scene that I still haven't gotten my head around, where the Scorched xenomorph literally catches Rain from falling to her death when the gravity purge happens on the ship, and essentially saves her. And it's not like he impales her with its tail to kill her or something when it catches her. No, it just like grabs her in her tail and like, places her on the side, essentially saving her, and doesn't even kill her. In fact, it didn't even look like it was intending on killing her. And then, suddenly, Super Andy comes fucking hurtling down from the heavens with the prototype pulse rifle, pins the xenomorph to the floor under his boot, and then just deletes its face out of existence with the pulse rifle, before then regurgitating the most famous line from Aliens in the most uncomfortable way possible, that even the damn character and probably the actor himself seemed uncomfortable and hesitant to say. So yes, that wasn't exactly a highlight of the movie for me, alongside the xenomorphs feeling like secondary antagonists at times, but it didn't hurt my impression of the movie too badly. I mean, I've seen some people say that the scorched xenomorph probably just saved Rain there and didn't just outright kill her because it wanted to, save her for the hive and harvest and cocoon her with the facehuggers to create more of them. But still, it's not the best portrayal of how people would do that, really. Like how you would show the xenomorphs do that in the movie. Also, like I said earlier, I didn't particularly care too much for any of the characters besides Rain and Andy. And the spoiler that I didn't really want to give away earlier was that the deaths didn't really feel impactful at all. Even when Tyler sacrificed himself to save his sister, it didn't feel as impactful as it could have done because there didn't really seem to be too much character development between the two earlier in the movie. Particularly not for Kay. It felt like she was in the movie, like she was barely felt like she was in the movie at times, to be honest, except for near the ending. And oh my god, the ending of this movie is definitely the most mixed I've felt on a movie in a long while, but I will get to that last. There are a few other things I want to talk about first, namely being the callback to Alien by using anti-aging CGI to give us the likeness of Ian Holm for the android Ash from the first movie, although it's obviously called Rook here in this movie, as not all androids have the same names despite being of the same model. But anyway, I can appreciate what they were trying to do with it, but the execution was pretty poor, to be honest. CGI did not look very good, and it was pretty damn noticeable. The inclusion of the android in the story wasn't bad or anything, but they very simply could have just used another actor. They do try a bit too hard with fan service in this movie, I think, and it really showed with this particular instance in the movie. Another particular callback to Alien was how the xenomorph from the original movie returned in this movie, albeit in a brief but also pretty confusing way. From my understanding, at least, and a lot of this kind of went a bit over my head in the movie at the time, because most of this was being explained by Ash, or Rook, the android, and you couldn't really understand a damn word he was saying half the time because of his distorted voice. But yeah, so somehow these Weyland-Yutani researchers took blood or DNA samples from Big Chap, the alien from the first movie, and managed to somehow reverse engineer facehuggers to breed xenomorphs, which ended up backfiring because we obviously see a hive with numerous xenomorphs later on in the movie. So it's pretty safe to guess their fate. But also, because from my understanding, Big Chap escaped and slaughtered a load of the guards and trashed a lot of the ship, before finally being killed by some of the Weyland-Yutani guards. And the first actual look we get at a full-grown xenomorph in this movie, I'm pretty sure, is by seeing Big Chap's dead body dangling in the air above a hole in the floor created by his acidic blood from when he got shot, which is all pointed out by Ash or Rook. Now all of this is really cool, but it's also extremely irritatingly underwhelming that we never get to see it happen. One of the main things I was hoping to see in this movie was Big Chap up and running again, and all we really got was a teaser and a reveal of his dead body, along with some context essentially saying that he died off screen. This is all just from my understanding, though. I mean, and a lot of this I didn't actually comprehend or realise during the movie, primarily due to having so much to look at that it was difficult to process and focus on what Ash was saying. But yeah, especially with his distorted voice. But yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, as I mainly got all this information from someone else's review, so I probably noticed a lot more things on my second viewing of the movie. But yeah, I just thought I should talk about this part of it briefly. And now, getting on to the final moments of the movie, let's talk about the very divisive finale. So, for the people who have all watched Alien Romulus, I'm sure you all understood what I meant about the later moments of the movie being very reminiscent of Alien Resurrection. I have very mixed thoughts about that thing that I am hearing is being dubbed as the Offspring. This creature is a very strange, unsettling, freakishly skinny and tall organism, It is definitely a more overall creepy and visually disturbing creature than people are typically accustomed to with the Alien movies, which you can definitely view as a positive thing, as a lot of horror movies nowadays simply aren't scary and don't really show anything new. In fact, I couldn't really name you a horror movie that I have ever found legitimately scary. But yeah, having something new in a movie that can make your audience feel uneasy in a horror film can definitely be seen as a positive thing. It may well have been what they were going for with the inclusion of this creature, the Offspring, but personally it just screams the ending of Alien Resurrection to me. And anyone who has heard my opinions on the ending of Alien Resurrection, and particularly the newborn in that movie, will know exactly how I felt about that fucking abomination. Now, for Alien Romulus, I wouldn't even say that the fact the ending gives me Alien Resurrection flashbacks is a bad thing. For me, the idea of human xenomorph hybrids really just doesn't sit well with me. It's that really that's my problem. I just don't like it, particularly when it gets excessive and creates some absolute freak of nature like the Offspring and the newborn. I'm a person who actually likes Alien Resurrection as a movie. I didn't mind the Ripley clone or the clone xenomorphs in that movie because visually they weren't particularly different from the normal counterparts. It's not like taking one look at the newborn and wanted to fucking claw my eyes out with a spoon. But yeah, frankly, the Offspring and Alien Romulus really does sit closer to the newborn on the spectrum of freakish abominations for me. Overall, my thoughts are very mixed on the ending of Alien Romulus, and particularly with this new creature, the Offspring. And in fact, a friend of mine, Sturmy, said that this thing made him fucking gag. But my thoughts may change upon a rewatch of the movie, which overall anyway, which I certainly plan on doing. So until I rewatch the movie a second time, my thoughts are going to stay pretty mixed on the ending. But overall, very, very, very positive on the rest of the movie. I enjoy this movie a lot, for sure. Had a great time with it, and it's definitely one of the better movies in the Alien franchise. Speaking of the Alien franchise, I will make a ranking of the franchise, most likely in the format of a tier list in the near future. So if you're interested in seeing that video, please let me know in the comments down below, along with your thoughts on Alien Romulus. And, I will also probably make a similar video for the Predator franchise, or Friday the 13th franchise, because, got a lot of fans for that on the channel. So if the Alien Romulus and Alien franchise review goes well, then I'll probably do that too. But yeah, feel free to let your thoughts about Alien Romulus, drop them in the comments down below. But yeah, just make sure you keep your comments spoiler free, guys, because a lot of people like to skim through the comments while watching or listening to the video, and I don't want them to come across something that may be a detriment to their initial experience of watching the movie for the first time. Particularly as for the ending scene with the Offspring, if I hadn't had it spoiled by some certain fucker on the Predator Hunting Grounds forums, I wouldn't have seen it coming. So yeah, thanks for that. But yeah, overall, either way, good movie, one of the better ones in the franchise, and yeah, I hope that you enjoyed the movie. But if you didn't, that's also fine. It's all very it's all very subjective in general, anyway. But yeah, I did enjoy Alien Romulus. I don't think it's the best movie in the franchise by any means. It has its flaws, but yeah. I think the most interesting thing to come out of all this, though, actually, is the alleged talks of a new Alien vs. Predator movie, which I will cover in another video, because I think that deserves an entire, new topic of conversation by itself. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you haven't already subscribed, I hope you consider subscribing. I'll be doing a bit more Alien content, surrounding this, or around this time period. And of course, if you like my Versus Shorts videos, feel free to check those out too. I recently did an Alien Romulus edit and a comparison between Alien and Aliens, that if you want to check those out, I really appreciate it. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed the video, and I hope you enjoyed Alien Romulus too. Thanks a lot, guys. See you later.